Hey Bundy, you know how cute I always think everybody is. Now we get a chance to hear from them. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Live, Laugh, Lotus XO. And I'm your girl, Lotus Lane. This is my co-host.
You can call me Bundy.
And we have a special guest all the way from across the internet, Miss Renee Olstead.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you, and thank you for joining us. So, I wanted to ask you, why are you here? What makes you this radiant persona in the adult industry today?
I'm here because I'm a huge Lotus Lane fan, honestly.
Stop it, I love you.
I am a huge fan of the work that you've been doing, especially around activism, and I actually had a chance to see you speak at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I was in town for
there. Oh my God, I just realized we
Yeah,
were both there. He was my photographer. And yeah, I had a speaking engagement. And once you just said that, I just remembered for that moment, we did meet outside in the hallway.
Yes, it was very short and I was very nervous. I'm a little nervous today too, but
Well, no need to be nervous here. We're all friends. We'll keep it casual. And yeah, if you need a breather, totally understand. But yeah, that's so wild that you're nervous to meet me because you are a superstar on the rise yourself. You are Penthouse Pet and many other things you've already achieved. So
many other things. I've worn many hats.
Yeah, like why don't we go through the list of all these amazing accomplishments you've achieved in the adult industry already?
I've definitely had an interesting like life so far. I've been very lucky. I started in entertainment pretty young. I was a child actress in the 90s and early 2000s. Stayed in that world for a little while. Made the transition into the adult side of things in around 2020. Um, it was something that it seems like kind of had been coming for a while. I'd been kind of transitioning out of mainstream entertainment for a bit, and it made a lot of sense to me. I honestly, I also had a really bad photo leak when I was on an ABC Family show, which they weren't a big fan of. But because of that, I had a built-in audience of people who were ready to see me naked again, so it made the transition a lot easier.
Interesting. Okay, so you kind of took like a negative thing that happened to you, and instead of feeling just victimized, you respun it into like the spurring of your career.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will also say it was a really radicalizing moment for me. These were photos that I had, taken in my private life, and the amount of like stigma and hate that I received, whether it was, work-related stuff, just being online. I mean, for years I didn't go on Twitter because it was just people telling me to kill myself.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was
What
it
the
was
naked
really,
pictures?
Right.
yeah, it was. Oh, I'm so sorry. What were you saying, sir?
No, I said like
Sorry.
they don't want to see the pictures.
Sorry.
That's wild.
You are so proper.
Be cool, Renee.
No, I was saying like a lot of celebrity news leak, and nobody's like, "Yo, I don't want to see that." Like, so
Yeah, that was what was really
What
strange
were
to
the
me.
people like
The people that, oh, sorry.
No, what were the people's like hateful reactions about? That's hard to understand why
yeah.
the vitriol would be aimed at you.
Absolutely. And it was really confusing to me that people would seek out this content and then come over to my page and say these really terrible things. A
And
lot of
this
it
is
was you're
before you
trying.
fully establish yourself as an adult performer, creator type person, right?
This was way before that, yes. So this was it was like a celebrity hacking kind of case. I was like the name that no one recognized that had a lot more photos and was doing more outrageous things in her photos. I like sex. I've always liked sex. But I just kind of got tacked on to a story that was much bigger than myself. But the dude was really scary. He had like pictures of the interior of my home on his walls and
Oh
stuff
my
like that.
God.
Yeah, it was a weird situation. But going back to the disconnect between the reaction that I received and
Yeah.
um, what is normal human behavior. I couldn't process it. And a lot of it was, oh, you're trying to be some like Kim Kardashian, like you're trying to elevate yourself, and people were seeking out this content and then coming to me and saying all these really hateful things. So it was one of those moments where, I had a really positive view on sexuality, and I hadn't really encountered the level of stigma that was associated with like expressing it in a public format. And so eventually, I did decide to move away from mainstream entertainment, and that was a decision that had been coming for a while. I went back to school, I got my master's in psychology.
Good for
Uh,
you.
definitely wanted to make a change. But it was a move that made sense for me, because number one, I felt that it was important for me to like kind of reclaim that space and be able to share who I am on my own terms. This is actually, I think, the first time I've really spoken about this publicly.
I'm honored
But
that you're sharing here.
you make me feel very comfortable, and I have a lot of respect for you. But yeah, it was one of those things where I had I had a really weird year in 2020. A lot
Like,
of things
on
changed
top of everything happening that year.
for a lot of people, obviously. Um, some really unexpected stuff happened, and I found myself at this crossroads where I was like, I have the opportunity to remake my life in a more authentic way where I can be um, what I want to be in this moment versus maybe what my goals were, 10, 15 years ago. What do I want that to look like? And, I've been, I don't know, like collecting all sorts of, I call myself a smut collector. I've been collecting a lot of like vintage adult um, movie posters, magazines,
Yeah,
all
I see
sorts of
one
stuff.
behind you over the shoulder there, Frankie.
That's Dolly.
You
That's
don't have
my
it hidden
Dolly
in
one.
boxes. You have it like up on the walls too. I love
I,
that.
I have plenty of boxes too. I promise they're in the basement.
Okay, so we're looking forward to the future Renee Olstead Archives sexual collection, just like UNLV has its own sexual
I
collection.
would love to do something like that, and especially like documenting the work that like activists are doing, especially with everything that's happening right now, which I feel like is such a transformative moment, and like there's so much that we're up against. But that's the ADHD talking. I'm gonna go back to the
Let
previous story.
it
Uh,
rip.
it became an opportunity for me to like decide what my new goals were and how I wanted to present myself, and I wanted to be a more integrated person where I could be my full self, and my full self includes my sexual self, and being able to share that on my own terms. And I don't know, that was a really powerful moment for me, and I've felt so much respect for the sex workers in my life. I already had so many friends that were in various, different facets of the industry, and I had a lot of good advice that was given to me as I was getting started, and yeah, I think that talking about stigma is something that I'm really passionate about, and undoing some of that. I mean, I feel like our country was clearly founded on like very puritanical foundations. There's a lot of work to do. But yeah, it's really important work, and it's a community that I'm really proud to be a part of.
Oh, we're so happy that you're a part of our community too. And as you were talking, it got me thinking too about even like my own journey into how I got to be in the industry. And yeah, it was like, it wasn't like someone released footage of me, but I was approaching 30, and there's a lot of stigma about women that are approaching 30, that are mothers, like your sexual life is over, you're undesirable, all this stuff. And I was coming into feeling like, yeah, I could redefine myself too at this moment. I could redefine what a sexual woman at 30 plus looks like, what a mother looks like, and that kind of sexual attitude. So yeah, I really commend you for like having that clear moment in your mind and like acting on it and really doing it. Cause I feel like sometimes a lot of us do have these moments, but maybe we hold ourselves back and we don't pursue like the bigger dreams or the like maybe outlandish goal because whatever stigma and all these other things hold us back.
100%. Can I ask, like, what was the moment when you were like, I'm ready to do this? I want to move into this industry.
I think for me, honestly, is once I gave birth to my child and I was a new mother, I was 25, 26, something like that. And I had this baby that I was going to raise with the idea that they could be anything they want in life. And here I was, and I had not done what I wanted to do in life. So I felt so hypocritical that I was going to raise them with this idea, you could be anything you want. And I hadn't done that. How can I show them that? Like, if there's no example for them to see, you can be and pursue anything you want in life. So that was kind of the thing that made me click, because I felt if I was going to stay in this box of like traditional motherhood, it would eat away at my core and I wouldn't be my true self. And a kid, no matter who they're born from, deserves the parent at their full self, you know? So yeah, I mean, now I am at my full self. I'm happy, I'm expressing myself, I'm getting to advocate for the people that I love and care about and meet more people and connect more people and do all that fun stuff.
That's awesome.
So
Yay.
what do you feel is the most fulfilling thing that you've gotten from like this self-realization and self-discovery over the last few years?
I think just being more integrated, not having parts of myself that I feel like I need to hide.
Mhm.
I think that's really freeing. Um, and yeah, like what Lotus was saying, like showing up authentically is like it's like having a huge weight lifted off of you. To just, to go for the things that you want and not hold yourself back or allow what other people think to I don't know, determine the choices that you make.
Yeah, right
Nice.
on. I also
Yeah.
think it's very interesting too that you're an actress that came from the mainstream. You're already doing successful things there, and you decided to transition into adult. And I know that a lot of the stereotype around that trajectory is that maybe you weren't doing good in the mainstream industry or you couldn't make it, so you had to come to adult to do it that way, or there's like different things like that, which I think those are kind of like outdated a lot more these days. But I work in mainstream as well when I do my intimacy coordinating work, and there's still a very big disconnect between the two entertainment industries where mainstream Hollywood still doesn't want an association or any kind of relation towards adult industry entertainment, which I feel is still so fascinating because there might be like guest appearances in shows and movies from adult stars, or like little moments where they mention something or include like a sex kink scene of some sort. But it's just interesting that the separation is still so wide to where people don't really want to associate or cross, like do that crossover. And
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too that the mainstream industry kind of avoids that and maybe like not doesn't want to be like associated with when we're learning so much more about what the mainstream industry looks like, whether it's the Weinsteins or whether it's Quiet on Set, kind of learning what that world looks like. I love that being outside of mainstream means that I get to create what I want to create. I am not subject to like a producer that thinks I need to lose weight or doesn't like the way like my face looks on camera. People can subscribe to my OnlyFans if they like me.
yeah, there
And
you
if
go.
they don't, there are lots of other great performers out there that they can follow. And I
I
love
don't see how they could not like you. Like talking to you now, you're just so fun and expressive. So I'm sure you're tons of entertainment for your followers and fans.
and I send a lot of voice memos too, so they get plenty of this.
Oh, nice.
But but yeah, I think that being able to create what I want to create and work with and for the community that appreciates me is awesome. Instead of having to try to fit myself into a box to fit somebody else's expectations or who they want me to be.
I love that. I love that. So let me get more into the details of like some of your bigger accomplishments. Like I noticed that you're a penthouse pet, which is a coveted, title. And
I even have my Penthouse Pet
oh,
cup
I
here.
love it. Yes, pets are the best. Yeah, how did that come to be, and what is that honor like for people that wonder about the mystique around penthouse pets and all of that?
I was absolutely blown away. So when I first started moving into this industry, I had some friends that were photographers that worked with like, Playboy and stuff like that. So I started shooting some stuff for like I shot a set for Hustler Hollywood for like a lingerie collection, and then I did like the penthouse, they did the Playboy stuff. And then I got a message on Instagram that was supposedly like from Penthouse, and I opened it and I was like, scam. this is so this is
Yeah.
not and then I clicked like their profile photo and it was the actual Penthouse account. Um, they said that they were interested in talking to me about potentially posing for the magazine. Like my heart was like beating out of my chest. I was so excited. Um, I wrote them an email in response and I decided to write it like it was letters to Penthouse. So it was like, Dear Penthouse, I never thought I would be writing this, but you'll never
How
guess what
fucking
happened to me today. Uh,
cute.
but yeah, I did my test with them and I did something that was, I'm glad they didn't think it was obnoxious, but again, I mentioned I've been collecting this stuff for a long time. I love all of like the vintage layouts that I have collected, and I was like, I have such a vision for what I would like, what my dream shoot would be.
Oh,
So I
okay.
came with like a full vision board. I had like the three different looks and like the sort of sets that I thought would be amazing. Just kind of talking about what my dream shoot would be. And when I got the call, they said, we would like to have you pose for the magazine. We'd like to make you a pet. And after I accepted, they said we had originally a location booked for this shoot, but we've decided that we're gonna do your dream shoot.
Oh
Oh,
my God, how
Hey, that's nice.
sweet.
Yeah.
They really like,
So yeah, they gave me an opportunity. I also love vintage cars. I got to bring my vintage car and shoot for one of the sets. I got to
your look goes really well with the vintage style, like erotica and all that stuff. I love that.
I love it. It was such a fantastic day, and my relationship with Penthouse has just continued to grow. They've been so amazing in really giving me a platform as well. I also write, and specifically in talking about sex work activism, like what's going on for our community. Also being able to talk to their readership, which are people outside of sex work, and kind of educating the consumer on,
Yeah.
hey, this is what you might think people within sex work are dealing with and the challenges that they're facing, and here's what's actually going on. Here's what, uh, discriminatory banking practices do to us. This is, what we're dealing with like different platforms and um just being able to kind of educate the audience a bit, or even just the difference between sex work and sex trafficking, which is like so often conflated.
Yeah.
Um, they've been really awesome in giving me a place to write and to talk about the things that I care about, and it's really been a joy. I've shot for a few publications that have all been awesome, but Penthouse really stands out in all of that. It's been exceptional, and it feels like a family.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that for you. That's really cool. Did you have a question?
No, I mean, I'm still trying to
Okay, I just
trying
didn't
to
know if
feel
I
things
stepped on
out.
top of you. I didn't
No,
know
you're
if I
good. You
stepped on
guys have the conversation. I'll pop in
top.
when I pop in. Like, no, it's
Uh,
actually like really good to hear. Like, I like to, because I mean, you like you said, like people might have like preconceived notions on what it's like behind the scenes in places like this, and like some people might think it's like a lot of just people that are untrustworthy or like sketchy. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So like hearing that people are putting performers in a safe place, when they come to do their job is very good because I like people to feel comfortable and stuff when I'm doing shoots. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important, and um I've had some really great experiences in the industry, and I think in any industry you're lucky, if you run across people that really go out of their way to make sure that you're safe. But Penthouse has really been exceptional in that aspect, and yeah, it's been a real pleasure working with them.
That's so good to hear. From what it sounds like you were just poised to be in this position like a pet. Like you responded well to the email, you did your due diligence researching, make sure it wasn't a scam, and you kind of came correct. Like you playfully responded in their like style to the email, and you had a vision board already. I wonder how many other models do all that to where they were probably super impressed by you, like, wow, this is someone we need to take serious.
I think it could have gone either way. They could have been really overwhelmed. It's like, who is this crazy person? Block her
Yeah.
immediately.
No, but I love that. Like you have your idea of how you want to be represented and you make it, you state that and go forth with that vision. One of the things I do want to ask you about is going back into your earlier career and like now the correlation with you being an adult performer. There's another redhead in this industry that used to be a young actress that is also now a prominent adult performer, Maitland Ward. And I'm kind of mind boggled by the redhead young actress to adult actress pipeline that's going on here.
Uh, y- yeah, we aren't exactly defying any stereotypes about redheads, I guess.
Right, yeah, because I was even gonna go there. I was like, is this like the fiery crotch redhead thing? Like, I hate to be like with the stereotypes, but I'm just like, you guys are just like, you walked right into this industry.
Yeah, I actually I got to see Maitland speak once. I go to a lot of speaking engagements,
I
apparently. I'm
love that
realizing
about
that right
you.
now.
I think that's really cool that you're interested.
Yeah, that one was specifically, it was a Sam Cole's book, How Sex Changed the Internet. And I believe Maitland wrote the foreword for that. But had a chance to meet her and talk with her a bit. Um, yeah, it's unusual. I definitely get a lot of comparisons to Maitland, but I also get them to a lot of other redheads. I feel like some people think all redheads look alike. I hear they look like
Part of that with the way people
Maitland,
talk.
that I look like Lindsay Lohan. I look like I got Tilda Swinton once, which was really surprising.
Oh, absolutely not.
I'm like, she is a redhead, but
They're reaching on that one.
Yeah, I feel like they're reaching on all of them. You all have more like very distinct actual facial characteristics. It's just like red hair.
yeah,
And
and well, and the big boobs. I'm a little top heavy.
I will say there's a huge difference between you and Maitland. Were you surprised when you met her?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of actresses that you meet that are usually, on the shorter side. I
Right.
always wanted to be taller, so she's very statuesque and beautiful.
Right. Even myself, when I first met her, I was like, what? I'm like, she's like literally towering over me. And I'm not a short person. I'm 5'7". What is your height? Because I feel like you were a little bit shorter, right?
I say that I'm 5'3" on a tall day. Um, I'm a 5'2", maybe
I
five
feel like
two and
she
a
was like
quarter.
6 feet tall. She was just like so like you said, statuesque. So that must have been a fun visual, like the two of you side by side.
Like, hello.
Right?
I do feel like most people are shorter when I meet them in real life.
Yeah, actually,
Right.
that's why it was a real surprise when I met Maitland, other performer, and she's very tall. And that was without heels, just naturally very tall.
Mhm.
So, one of the things I do want to ask you about your adult career and where it's going is, where do you think it's going next? You've talked about appearing in like these beautiful, glamorous publications, and for photo shoots, but do you do like video performing? Are you going to perform with other people and actors?
I do. So I do a lot of video stuff on my OnlyFans. I love shooting my own content. I love editing. So I could see maybe trying to like, I don't know, get more into the production side of things, like eventually. That could be really cool. But that has always been something that I've been really passionate about, making like really visually beautiful videos, like a fantasy that people can like step inside of for a few minutes at a time. But yeah, that's something that's on my radar for sure. I also think that like um, continuing to, I don't know, grow like the sort of writing side of
Yeah,
myself and helping to tell like the stories of like other people in the industry is something that I'm really passionate about. So hopefully my writing skills will continue to grow. But yeah, there's a lot of different aspects of the work, and I think that like anything to do with sexuality is so creative, and I think that yeah, that creative spark, there's so many places you could go.
love it. Yeah, especially when you were talking about your writing, you were talking about wanting to do production behind the scenes. In my future vision, I see you like writing, producing, directing, and having productions under your super glamorous fantasy world vision. Is that what you're hoping
I
for?
love that. I love that idea.
One-stop shop. Tyler
If
Perry.
anyone is watching this and wants to give funding,
There you go. Yeah, you have to fund this amazing project that's going to be happening in the future. You want to be one of the first funders.
yeah, I've got to give you some points though, on any deal that we make though. That was your idea.
Um, okay, another thing I want to go back to, speaking of 2020 and your moment when you were transitioning and coming into the industry, did you in your, I guess, mainstream, normal, non-adult industry life experience any kind of backlash there, or people wondering what the F you were doing with yourself, or anything of that nature? Do you feel
Yeah,
like you lost
for
people
sure.
because of
There were definitely people that didn't understand what I was doing. But I think that the people closest to me got it immediately. They're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense for Renee." There are some fans that didn't love it, and I understand, and that's totally fine. They don't have to engage with that content. I'm certainly not trying to force it down their throats, but at the same time, I think because the photo leak was already kind of out there, people kind of had an idea that I don't know. It just I don't think it shocked anyone.
Okay.
The same way it would if I hadn't done anything like that before.
There's this question I always love to ask actors, actresses, since you came up in the business. And me being like a film head, like I might go to the movies tonight, just I'm that kind of
Mhm.
person. But I like to ask people like if you could remake a movie and star in it,
Ooh,
what movie would you pick and what role would you go for? And
Mm-mm.
that's a fun question.
because for me,
Oh,
it's Bad Boys. Like
Automatically right away.
I gotta be Will Smith in Bad Boys, Action, comedy.
okay, there's so many movies, and I feel like my education around film has been growing a lot more. I've been exposed to a lot more like genres of film. I just went through a big Yakuza movie phase, those like Japanese gangster films.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I would say. I mean, Sunset Boulevard is a really great movie. I'd love to play like a crazy old woman who's a little bit dangerous. I
Wait, a
think that would
crazy
be.
old woman?
It's a good time.
And then you
I
take
think
off your
that's a
mask
fun
and there's a
role.
hot woman hidden underneath.
Say again?
I said, and then you take off your mask and you reveal there's a hot woman underneath the crazy old woman facade.
I take it back. I take it back. I know exactly what film it would
Oh,
be.
oh, what is it?
Showgirls, Know Me Malone.
Hey, oh my God. Okay, now that is it's a sexy movie classic,
Yeah, I remember when I
Showgirls.
discovered that movie when I was young.
Yeah, and how many times did you watch that alone?
'Cause it was what's the name from what's the show?
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the
Yeah.
Bell.
Yeah.
And she was always my favorite on Saved by the Bell. I was like, yo, now she's
Stricken
She was a
down.
babe. But the movie is just such, I mean, Verhoeven had like such a great way of like kind of making satire of things and talking about I don't know, like what Starship Troopers and like that
Oh,
as
did you make that movie
Troopers
too?
too.
Okay, that was one of my favorites. That was like, I wanted to be in that movie.
I tell you what, I was mad at that movie.
Why?
Because I'm like, why is he so upset like into this girl when he needs to be over here talking to this other girl?
Yeah, that was.
She was so fine too. I was so upset about that. I'm like, yo, at the beginning of the movie, she's over here flirting with the other team's quarterback and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, man, fuck her.
what's your favorite genre of film?
Me, I mean, I like action and comedy.
Okay.
I'm not much of a rom-com kind of person.
Me
I love
neither.
horror movies too. I love horror movies too. Like,
I can't do horror movies. I get too scared.
You know what's funny is I like some horror movies and I do get scared too, but funny enough, I've been getting booked as intimacy coordinator for a lot of horror scenes, and I recently watched one of the movies that I did because I was like, oh, this should be fun. I thought it was just gonna be like suspense thriller, and then like there was like some graphic blood. I was like, whoa, like graphic bloody murder moments, and I was like, oh my God, I did not know this was, it wasn't
I
that.
can't hang. I can't hang.
I was
I've
like
gone
shocked.
before and I'll just stare at my knees. I'll just stare at my knees until the movie is over. I get too scared.
I'm into the gory stuff. I'm not into like Saw stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like that clown movie I seen, that was crazy. But I'm into like psychological thrillers. and
Okay,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
That I like.
So, yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Seven, that movie is crazy, but
Yeah, I like psychological horror too. Thrillers, if you will.
yeah.
But yeah, if I was gonna be in a movie, which one would I be in? I feel like I would automatically go towards A Bronx Tale, which is a 90s classic, and I would be the black girl, of course. She was just like so beautiful and elegant.
Dark
calm.
skin.
Yeah.
She was in Belly.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but
I can't
the
either.
actress's
She
name starts with a T. That's all I can remember right now.
Wow.
But she was just like so ethereal and goddess-like, and it was just like, it was like one of those like Romeo and Juliet type stories, but in the Bronx. Yeah, and racial tensions and all that stuff.
It's
Yeah,
a great movie.
yeah, it really
It's a good
was.
choice. A lot more meaningful maybe than Showgirls, but
No,
I still
honestly,
stand by my
no,
choice.
honestly, Showgirls has a lot of meaning too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been like lambasted and whatever, but like if you think about it now in today's terms, it was ahead of its time. And it was probably being portraying things in a way that was like bold and dramatic, especially in that time period when I mean, we still have a lot of sex negativity. So I could only imagine what it must have been like to work on that movie, star in that movie at that time. So I really think it like blazed some trails. Look at the J-Lo movie that came out just recently, Hustlers. That was about strippers, and that was like almost in talks to be an Oscar contingent at the time, you know. It didn't, but we may get
Well,
there one day with a stripper focused film that wins an Oscar, you know.
well, I think it might be sooner than you think. Are you familiar with a film called Anora?
Honora?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, put us
So,
up on the game, girl.
yes. So it actually won the top prize at Cannes this year. It's Sean Baker's new movie. He did Tangerine. He
Oh
did
yeah,
Red Rocket. He does a lot of
he
films
likes a
that
lot
have
of
like,
sex work based kind of films, I notice.
yeah. Um, Also, the cast in this movie, there's a lot of like actual dancers that are in the movie. I actually just interviewed a few of them for Penthouse.
Oh,
So I'm doing a piece specifically on the film.
yeah.
But after winning the top prize at Cannes, it's definitely got some like Oscar buzz that's happening. So I think that would be awesome. And also too talking to some of these women about like, you know, how Sean reached out to them for consultation to make sure that he's like getting these stories right and trying to show a more nuanced character than like a lot of the depictions of sex workers that we see in film that feel very flat or two-dimensional or I don't know, just those tropes about people that need to be rescued,
Yeah.
or I don't know, Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman, you know,
Right,
that sort of
and getting
stuff.
swept away by the rich man, because that's the goal.
Mhm.
I'm so glad you mentioned this because I didn't realize he had made all those movies, and especially this new one. I really loved his depictions of like trans street-based sex workers in Tangerine because I think it gave that perspective, like you said, where it wasn't looking at them in this like circus-like, you know, vision. It was just like their everyday lives, their hopes, dreams, aspirations. And it was really like heartfelt and really poignant. And I still want to see Red Rocket, Red Rocket.
Yes, and that one too is
I
like
don't see that anywhere.
it's the film centers around a male performer that, you know, is no longer really connected to the industry, desperately wants to get back. And he's like a very flawed character. He's like very much like a suitcase pimp. And I think that that's not a character we see a lot in movies.
No,
Um,
yeah, especially the suitcase pimp idea.
yeah, he meets a girl and he's like, this girl is like gonna get me back in.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's his
Oh,
like
this is
manipulation.
so, yeah, this is such an actual story in the industry sometimes too. That's so funny. Yeah, God, I have to see this movie now. Also, the guy Simon whatever
Yeah.
from TV era, he's the one that stars
Mhm.
as the former male porn star guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's great in it.
I can't remember his
How?
name. No.
Is it Simon Rex?
Yeah, there you go, Rex. There you go. I
Oh,
thought,
Simon
yeah,
Rex.
yeah.
I just seen him in a movie the other day. He's in that new
look at him
Blink
coming back
Twice.
to acting. Oh, you saw that one. I want to see that one.
It was cool.
He is a
It
movie.
sounds scary.
That sounds scary.
It's a thriller. It's a thriller.
I think there's like a little bit of a sexual assault trigger warning thing that
Yeah,
people
yeah.
need to be aware of,
Yeah.
but it does look interesting in
I
the
enjoy it.
scary way that we could maybe handle.
Okay. All right.
Not
I'll
like
put it on my list.
jump scares and stuff like that, but it's just like, yo, you figure out what's going on in the movie, you're just, oh shit. And then how they're gonna get out, you know, so definitely come check it out. I have that AMC pass, so I just go see everything.
Just for your movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Come for
Well,
the
you're a film head. Like you've got to see what's coming out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love talking entertainment of all kinds, and especially like looping the fact that entertainment, adult entertainment, mainstream, whatever, like it all does overlap, whether the powers that be want it to or not. I mean, even right now, there's a performer named Chloe Cherry that just started being more of a mainstream actor. So I kind of like that this line is being blurred, not by producers or production companies, but by the actresses themselves. Like you, Maitland, you decided on your own free will, you wanted to be a part of this industry. It wasn't like a lack of or something lacking. And same with Chloe, like she was doing great in this industry. She decided to go take it towards mainstream. And I think the flexibility that we have more now is welcome and what's needed for people to be able to forge their own careers and paths regardless of how they want to express themselves or stop expressing themselves in a certain way.
Well, I feel very hopeful. I feel like also generationally, I think that we see a lot of younger people that have a better grasp on, you know, respecting adult entertainers and seeing them as, you know, people beyond just the character that they saw, you know, in an adult film and seeing them as like, oh, these are really talented people who have skills that translate into other places. Where was I gonna go with this? Um, so generationally, that's one thing. But then the other thing is the challenges that we're seeing now, like adult performers facing with, you know, whether it's AB 3080, you know, which we were both kind of a part of trying to lobby against.
It
Um,
did get killed. It was a bill in California for age verification that would have mandated adult websites have a block before it that would have basically a user would have to verify their age with maybe a retina scan, maybe their ID scan front and back, and where that would be stored or how that would be mined and held was up in the air, you
Yeah,
know?
just yes and no. That's all you need. Are you over 20?
Right, and
Yeah.
the thing is,
Yes.
the reason it's called age verification is because people think, oh, this is going to protect children from accessing adult material. So it sounds good on the surface, but deep down inside, it's really just killing small business in that state, independent business that content creators are. Because instead of going to their legal abiding websites that are using this age verification block, they'll just go to, you know, a torrent site or another tube site that's hosted in another country that has way more unethical practices, that doesn't have to adhere to US laws, California laws, that doesn't have to listen to takedown notices if they have CSAM, which is like children's sexual assault material. And they don't have to take down revenge porn, which is more
Oh, that's
now
wild.
talked about as like non-consensual intimate
Yeah.
image sharing. So instead of it's kind of like the thing that some politicians say, like, well, if you mandate guns, then all the gangsters will just have guns or something, you know? But it's just really, it gets really messy because in the end, the focus is not protecting children because that would be done through education and like media competency education, understanding the difference between the internet and reality education. It's just about shutting down porn and shutting down sexual expression on the internet.
and when we talk about like Project 2025, this is very much part of their playbook and how they can like make these porn bans happen. Because here's something that like sounds like a good idea, right? Keep kids safe. We all want to keep kids safe. Performers don't want kids engaging with their material. That's not the goal
That's
whatsoever.
the opposite of us creating adult entertainment. It's for adults.
100%. But also as somebody who had a, you know, couple hundred photos stolen from them and thrown up on the internet, I do know personally that when you're doing takedown requests and you're trying to get things taken down, the big major sites are like happy to stay like within compliance and work with you and take down those materials. The stuff that's being hosted like out of Eastern Europe, good luck. It's up there forever.
And so you actually have real experience with this. It's not just like a concept we're talking about. This was something you had to deal with those leaked photos and
Yeah.
stuff, right?
100%. So,
Yeah.
just from my personal experience, like the sites that would be the only sites that are available are literally showing the worst things that are out there, non-consensual images. We talked about CSAM. So yeah, making sure that like the responsible sites get to like still remain in existence and not make this a market where it's just the bad stuff that's still
Is the
available.
most readily available. It's
100%.
like they're putting too many barriers to the legal content that US adults, or not even just US, adults around the world should be able to access. And they're making it so much easier to just redirect and go towards the terrible sites that might even put like a virus on your computer. And they think that that's saving kids, but kids know how to find those sites too. So you're actually
Kids are so good at using computers.
right, so you're actually
It's like,
redirecting young people from the ethical adult sites, compliant adult sites, towards the super unethical, non-compliant adult sites where they may actually be exposed to some traumatic shit.
100%. And also too, like, potentially downloading stuff that they could end up being charged for if it ends up being CSAM or something like that, that is included in the images that they download. And that's a very real threat.
Wow, threats all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that unknowingly, that they may unknowingly download something that
Absolutely, yeah.
gets them in trouble.
You don't know what's on those kinds of sites, but yeah. So with that said, is there anything else that you want to tell us that you're working on or looking forward to in your career right now?
Well, I'm going to Chicago tomorrow to see a screening of a sex work focused film. So that's the next thing I'm doing, and continuing to write this Penthouse piece. I'm still in the running for Pet of the Year. Voting has closed, so now we're just waiting. Uh,
Okay,
I think the winner will probably be announced in the next couple months.
is it for
But if people want
2025
to
or
say
this
again.
year? Is it for 2025 next year or for this year that we're in right
It's
now?
for like this year's voting. I think I'm not sure when it's going to be announced. I don't have like the final word. I'm just like sitting here with my fingers crossed.
We'll be hoping and praying and sending
Yeah.
all the good energy towards
Oh
you.
my God, it
You're
would
just
mean
trying
the
to get
world to me.
prepared to accept your reward. That's all.
Yes, yes. You're in
I
reward prep mode right now. That's what it is.
you're very sweet. I will love them regardless. But what was I gonna say? If people want to keep up with me, they can follow me on social. I'm pretty active on Twitter at Renee_Olstead. On Instagram, I'm XO Renee, and I'm on OnlyFans as XO Renee as well. If people want to check out my spicier stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely want to pick up a physical magazine and read one of your articles. Are they also available online?
So some of the pieces I've written are online and others are in print. But I could definitely send you some of my stuff. I would love to hear your thoughts and yeah, let me know if like I didn't include anything or if there's something that you'd love to see written about in the future.
Oh my God, I love that. So cool.
So first of all, I feel like we need to do a part 2 to this.
Right, yeah,
Sometime.
So fun.
So much more to talk about.
Right, we definitely will get a little bit more into so many other things that you're involved with because I know you're just like a whirlwind of creativity, imagination, advocacy, and amazingness. So thank you
Well,
for
thank
bringing
you.
that amazingness on the show today.
Thank you to you both for having me on. It's been such a pleasure. This was like such an easy, fun interview. Like
This
I
was a
really
lot of
enjoyed talking to
fun.
you both so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to listen to your other episodes.
Thank you. I'm excited for you too. Appreciate you for showing up and being here and taking time to speak with me and Bundy. And you have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.